Good morning, this is Todd Allen for knife sharpening submission. I have a number of items that I use for sharpening my knives. Uh, got a two-way stone from Lansky, and a carborundum, I believe is how it's pronounced. You got a rough side and a more fine side. I have an old Arkansas stone. It's an oil stone, so when I sharpen that, I use an oil base. I have another Lansky diamond file, a Lansky bastard file, if you will, and another DMT diamond stone, and a ceramic stone I got from Baden's for $1. Can't beat it. Takes a very, very fine edge to a knife blade. The water stones, I soak them in water for a good hour before I try to use them, and when I am using them, I keep a little bowl of water with me to keep the stone fresh. The water helps the metal flow off the top of the surface so you don't grind it back into the metal itself. Oil, same thing, helps keep the fine shavings off of from going back onto the knife. I also have a couple of Field Expedient sharpeners. This is like the Swiss Army tool, so to speak, of knife sharpening. Has a small diamond pick on it. Has white ceramic. It's got another fine ceramic, and I can't remember what it's carbide sharpeners, where you just drag them across to keep the edge on it, like so. Does a pretty good job for field use. It cost about $10. But generally, what I do when I'm sharpening, and it depends on how bad the edge is, rarely do I take it to a real stone unless it's real bad. If I've been out for 2 or 3 days over a weekend and I use my knife a lot, it might see a quick trip to the stone. But for the most part, I use the DMT. And again, I keep water on it, or oil, preferably oil, because oil stays on longer. But when I do that, being that this is a Scandi knife, Mora HD, get the edge directly in contact with the surface of the stone, and you pull across quite gently. You don't want to take too much off if you can avoid it. And I do that in groups of 10 on both sides. 10 swipes per side, so on and so forth. And I do that until it's got a good edge on it. From there, I go to stropping. And I use a green stropping billet. You got to impregnate you got a piece of good leather on it. This one's seen better days, probably could use replaced. So I did put another piece on the other side, but you just rub the compound into the leather. And I do the exact opposite. Instead of pulling it forward, I push it backwards. And again, I keep the edge right on it. And what that'll do is take the wire, when you sharpen it well, you'll have a very fine wire that, from sharpening both sides, a very thin wire that develops. And again, you just pull it back. And a good friend of mine, Abe Elias from Diving Sparrow Knives, gave me permission to participate in the Zen of knife sharpening about 2011, and heck of a guy and wonderful knife maker. Says you gotta lift your arm, lift that elbow when you get under a certain point. You have to follow the curve of the knife tip, and you do that by lifting your elbow up on the arm you're sharpening with. Many people say different things about stropping. Ray Mears, I think, says do 200 or 300 times, and that's a lot. But again, he has a vested interest in a sharp knife. But most strops are flat, just pieces of puckwood, as I call it, and you just glue a decent piece of leather on it, keep the compound thick, and you're going to have a good sharp knife. It's going to take that wire off you. Now, this is something I'd never seen before. This was a gift from a BC USA member, and it's just a piece of PVC with, again, a piece of leather glued to it. You've got the green compound, and it's kind of interesting. I use this. I have a Becker BK4 Mishax, and it's got that sinusoidal blade shape, and that's kind of hard to use with this as a strop because of the curvature of it. So I use this. It makes it so much more simple. You can just push it down the edge, again with the the green compound or whatever compound you might use. But it makes or let's say a tracker. You've got that quarter round on the edge or right by the draw knife area, and that can be very difficult to sharpen properly. I'm sure Mr. Black has some say on that. I think he uses something similar to this nail file. That's fairly, for a curved blade, it works pretty well to fine tune it. But you always want to strap your knife at the very end. As sometimes people will drag them across the edge of a glass window, take that fine edge off. I've never tried that. I think glass would. I would probably end up dulling my knife somehow doing that. But again, that's an option. I have a lot of Beckers. Preferably my main knife is a Becker Necker. Had this thing for years. It was the first bushcraft knife I would say I bought was this, and it's completely convexed, as is my BK16 and my BK4, and I use this to fine touch. I just push it across the edge of the blade, and you can see it shine up when you're getting a good edge on it. That'll give you a completely convexed edge, no secondary bevel to speak of. And that's Knife Sharpening 101 with me. Thank you for looking. Have a blessed day.